We had 9/11 anniversary this past week. So here's how we're going to play it. We have this block coming up. It's got a little bit of Timcast because the media lost it after Trump was hanging out with Loomer. And then there's a usual suspects. These are this is like a spinoff of Valuetainment PBD podcast. 9/11 oddities, the unanswered questions still haunting America. That's going to put a whole bunch of these splinters in the mind, as it were, out there for consideration. I also wanted to say it was the day before 9/11 that I was at my in-laws a couple hours from here, and I saw on my YouTube that Jeremy Reese, aka Alien Scientist, he was doing a 9/11 live stream. And since I'm on the road this year and I didn't have time to coordinate with LD, because usually we do like a 24-hour or 36-hour live stream of evidence of all the inconvenient evidence of 9/11, and it's there to, educate people away from the official narrative, which is not reflective of reality. So we show them this evidence and they get a deeper, more nuanced look at it. So anyway, we aren't able to do that this year. So Jeremy Reese, he had taken it upon himself. He did his own 9/11, what's the best research and evidence live stream. He challenged 9/11 debunkers, people who want to defend the official story, to come to him and debate. And I think he's done it now for 2 years, and nobody can even show up to debate these topics because all the traditional popular science and those types of people, who's the other guy that runs Skeptic, Michael Shermer, those arguments are played out by the evidence that is now available because it's been 23 years after the event. There's a lot more evidence to show there's no way. Like, as you saw just from the past 2 weeks of this podcast, there's no way the Al Qaeda and the box cutter story, as you were told it historically, matches up to the reality. No way, shape, or form. Before you get to 9/11, you're like, oh, it's an operation. So they're not the actual bad guy terrorists. They're part of the bad guy terrorists that already took over this country. So it's a whole different dynamic than what people are told. Tonight, in our continuing investigation into September 11th, we have two pieces. And one of these pieces I got from Jeremy's live stream. So he had a 10-hour live stream. We can't play that for you guys. But within that 10 hours, I'm listening to it. I'm in the pool with my son. It was the first time on vacation I'd been able to get to the pool because we call it vacation, but we're just visiting family and I work the whole time. That's how it works. And 6 days a year, I figured out I'm a professional driver and I drive like 10 hours a day. For 6 full days a year, at least, I'm driving. So at this point, I was in the pool and Jeremy started playing Corbett's 2012 piece on AIG. So I was listening and I've heard it before. I just didn't remember everything that was in it. And about 20 minutes into it, he starts telling a whole bunch of pieces of my story as related to AIG and 9/11 and stuff like that. So we're going to include that in tonight's podcast with a hat tip to Jeremy Reese and, of course, Corbett, who made the production back in 2012 in the first place. And I also want to include in this episode Corbett's 9/11 trillions, because that's the other angle. If you just know about this 9/11 trillions topic, there's no way you're going to go back into the little box of believing the official story, right? What they do is they create a box and they're like, this is the official story, but that box is too small to hold any of the relevant facts. So they're going to be outside the box always. So if you accept the box of the official story, you're almost guaranteed to be alienated from the reality of that story, which is their intended purpose. So if that's their purpose and their purpose is for our not betterment, it's for our ill, it would behoove us to recognize those situations. And anytime they give us an official story in a nice, tightly packed little box with a bow on it, perfectly wrapped, we should be incredulous and be like, reality is not in that box. What they say that box represents probably is not the thing. And we should broaden our scope of frame and reference and focus on the bigger picture to see what's really going on. Because these people have a history of being really wily and cunning and deceiving us with their fallacies and false evidence and all the other good stuff that they get people to assume is true. Because an authority said it. They said it so professionally. Look, they read it from the teleprompter. I would say we owe ourselves better. Like we deserve better for ourselves. And if we respect ourselves, we're going to start questioning these these claims and assertions made by these authorities more rigorously and consistently, and get feedback from more people before we come to a decision and a firing solution, metaphorically, where we're deciding to take some action or make a judgment in a situation. So I think that's going to deliver us a higher quality of consequences and results when we do decide to take action. Now, in this realm of 9/11, like I said, we got Timcast, and we're going to the usual suspect. We will come back and comment after these clips. After that, I will say thank you, and I will hand the show back over to LD as we did last week, and he will pilot the plane and land it for us. And last week, I remember hearing that last clip, and I was like, man, how long did the show go? And when I looked at the replay, it was like 8.5 hours. So LD outdid himself last week. He's almost like setting new records for episode length. And I thank you for facilitating that, Lawrence, while I was laying down, but I was still listening. I had my earpiece in, and that was nice. That was a good workout last week. I thought we did a pretty good job. So tonight, finishing out our 9/11 commemoration for this year, bringing new evidence to light and shining a light on lesser known past evidence that can open new minds and help people realize the cunning attempts to trick us by the establishment and the globalists. You know, we can define that and discern that in a future episode, because it's getting too late to do all that work. But there are people of a supranational nature who want to see America's demise and then trickle down from that agenda. You see replacement migration. So we were talking tonight about a story that is a small part of a big picture. If you zoom back up out, it's like going out from like Google Maps from a town to a state to a country to the planet. You have to be able to zoom in and out of these historical topics and current events to be able to make sense of the world. So in the realm of 9/11, we deposit tonight into the time capsule that is Grand Theft World the following clips, starting with current events and then digging back into the inconvenient but very factual history of 9/11. Let's go.
How Donald Trump's close friendship with glam conspiracist Laura Loomer, 31, is threatening to blow up his presidential run, as insiders say his campaign managers don't care if he wins or loses.
I would like to just congratulate whoever at the Daily Mail wrote this headline, because glam conspiracist is really, that is a great descriptor, you know.
That's her new
I think
Twitter
it's
bio.
wonderful.
She's gotta love that.
If I were Laura Loomer, I would put glam conspiracist on everything from now on. I'd get a shirt.
Look at this. It's funny. The former president was asked by Laura Loomer, comma, who once claimed 9/11 was an inside job, comma, when? That's so stupid. Imagine being like 18 and then you're on the internet and you type it, and then now you're 31, you're like, I was just some dumb kid typing stupid things on the internet, and they're like, but you did say it.
Well, that's what's funny about Kamala Harris is how she talks about how her values haven't changed, even though every single one of her positions has changed. It wasn't from when she was a kid. It was literally 5 years ago. She was in her 50s.
He said, Laura is a supporter. She has very strong opinions. She's a free spirit. I can't tell Laura what to do, he replied. She flew on the plane with him to the debate. She's not a campaign staffer. She's not part of the campaign. She was on this trip, but by no means is she part of the campaign in the official capacity, the campaign source told the Mail. So you can tell it's a slow news day when they're literally running front page headline stories because Laura Loomer hung out with Donald Trump. I do like the word conspiracist, though, to tack on to what Libby was saying. Conspiracist.
You put that on a business card.
Yeah, it sounds like she crafts them. You know, like she's sitting there like folding paper and like drawing lines and making the conspiracies for other people.
It's her trade.
Like, you ever ask, like, where do conspiracy theories come from?
Laura Loomer.
The conspiracists.
Conspiracist.
But I will say this. I believe that the world has only yet begun to see the capabilities of Laura Loomer in generating press.
Yeah, she's incredibly
When she's 50, she's going to be at the front page of every story all the time, 24/7. So she chooses, because she has consistently proven over the past 8 years that when she wants to be the story, she does it.
You were saying
that's
that
a talent.
She's more effective than members of Congress. You know, and you see people coming out and they're attacking her. Like Marjorie Taylor Greene went crazy, and that she kind of started this, like Marjorie Taylor Greene, and then you saw like Lady G, Lindsey Graham, and like all these like senators.
Did Lindsey Graham?
Lady G was very. I mean, he's just mad because he has an identity crisis, with himself, with the hookers at the
Male
RNC in
hookers.
2016. But male hookers, yes. But Laura,
with all the hype and all the talk and all the election, I think 9/11 hasn't gotten the proper remembrance that it should. I just want to let everybody know, and I mentioned it earlier, 2,977 Americans died on September 11th. 2,753 were in the World Trade Center and the surrounding areas of New York. 184 people died at the Pentagon in Arlington, Virginia. And the 40 passengers and crew aboard United Airlines Flight 93 who crashed in Pennsylvania after passengers attempted to overcome the hijackers. Shout out to them for at least trying. But I want to just really quick, I'm going to go around and ask Dave, where were you on, do you remember where you were on September 11th?
Tuesday morning, getting ready to go to philosophy class, and something was on the news, and I went into my dad's room and laid on the bed and was watching it on TV, and was watching it after the first tower had gotten hit, but before the second one got hit. And then I remember the second one got hit, and the journalist was talking and saying, is there possibly some radar that is directing the planes into these buildings? And her colleague is like, no, Susie, this is clearly coordinated. And I had, my brother and sister were living in New York at the time. My sister was a lawyer, and I didn't know where she worked, but she worked not far from, but not in the vicinity. And I was on the phone with my brother. He's in New York. He's looking out his window, and he starts seeing the buildings collapse, and he starts freaking out on the phone with me before I see it, because he saw it before I got it on TV.
Feed, yeah.
And I was like, what's happening? He's like screaming, they're falling, they're falling.
Oh my God.
Then I see it on the TV, and then it's a different world than we knew 3 hours earlier.
Connor, where were you at?
Let's see. September 2001, I was almost 4 years old.
Oh, wow. That's crazy.
So I was at preschool. I remember my dad picked me up. All the parents showed up. Everyone was pulling their kids out of school because nobody knew what was about to happen.
Yeah.
I went home and the news was on in time for me to see the footage of the second tower coming down. And weirdly enough, it's one of my earliest memories.
Wow.
I start forming concrete memories around 3-4 years old. So like I remember my younger brother being born when I was 3, and then September 11th. So I have grown up in a world defined by that. My brother was about a year old at that point. So he has no memory of ever existing in a world pre 9/11. Mm-hmm. I barely remember it. But everything that has happened since then has been, for better or worse, defined by what happened that day. Where it's like, we went to Afghanistan right after that. When I was, we went to Afghanistan 2002?
Yeah, because, I mean, Iraq was first, and then...
So I was about to be 5 when we went.
Yeah.
I was a college graduate working in media and broadcasting in 2022 when we pulled out. So for my entire life, we were in Afghanistan dealing with the consequences of what happened there.
Getting heroin.
Yeah, exactly. And then as we'll get into, to now be in a position of seeing so many things about what happened, where the lies, the cover-ups, the corruption that shows the narrative they pushed we were pushing when I was 4 years old was fraudulent. Yep. And they knew it, and they went with it anyway. It's heartbreaking now for a whole other reason.
In my brain, I'm like, because I'm 46, I was like, holy shit, this guy's 4 years old.
I was wondering why it was taking him so long. I was like, dude, everyone knows where they were.
Everybody knows.
Oh, you were 4.
Yeah. Brandon, real quick.
Yeah, no, I was in first grade. Same deal. We all got taken home early and stuff. But I remember it was like really long.
It takes them too long to actually get to the parts that I wanted to put in this time capsule, and we're running too late. But I did want to show you before we move on to other clips. The attempted assassin of Donald Trump from earlier today was interviewed by Newsweek in Romania. So there is a clip that is circulating right now with the person who got busted with the AK 10 hours ago about. And then Michael Malice says the suspects: Colonel Mustard, Professor Plum, Mrs. White, Miss Scarlet. So he's taking the game of Clue, and he's making fun of the potential people who might stand to gain from Trump's demise. I don't see Tony Fauci on there, but you might want to include him, dude. All right, so at this point, we'll come back over here, and I think this is where I'm going to have to parachute out, because I have to. I got other activities to engage in tomorrow. I can't stay up to the end of this episode with you guys in this studio. So, Scott, I want to thank you for riding shotgun tonight and for helping us unpack all of these clips for the audience. And I know you'll probably stick around or you'll watch the replay so that you internalize this historical aspect, which is the last section of tonight's episode. But did you want to promote your new release and your projects?
Sure. Well, I was gonna say, LD, I'll kick it with you, man. We'll close this thing down, dude. I do have to work in. I do have to work in the morning, but dude, I'm ride or die. I'm ride or die, man. I'm so grateful to be here, and of course, yeah, thank you so much for having me. I mean, it's just truly an honor. But yeah, I got a stack of CDs right here, you guys. You can get them at rebunkedrecords.com. The new album is popping. Everybody's loving it. I want you guys to at least go check it out. I'm really proud of it. I really enjoyed it. Check out these CDs though. It's so cool. It's like official with the album cover and the stuff on the back, and then look at the actual CD itself. Like, how legendary is this? This is a collector's item right there. Let me see.
That's too legit to quit. That's very MC Hammer-esque.
I gotta get it without.
There you go.
Now there you go. There you go, guys. So just so you know who my target audience is a little bit, with a gun in the waistband, the whole deal, dude. Rebunkedrecords.com. And all my other stuff is at libertylinks.io/rebunked. So thank you, guys.
All right. Step into the pilot's chair is co-pilot Lawrence Driggs. And he's all ready to take care of him and Scott for the rest of the flight. A couple times a year, I have to parachute out of an episode, so I don't like to make a big habit of it. I don't like to advertise it before I have to do it. But this is the point where I got to make the call because it's almost 3 a.m. And I'm going to be asked in the morning, how late did you do the show last night? Because you're missing family time. All right, so LD, do you guys want to do the thank yous at the end since you're riding shotgun, Scott? Does that work out for you guys?
That works for me. Yeah.
Cool. That makes me feel more comfortable because then the people who do like the super chats, they usually look at the end, and if they look at the end, then they think we didn't thank them because they don't find it until 5 hours into the show. So that takes care of that piece of housekeeping. So for all of you who were at the Autonomy AMA earlier today, when I started in this studio at noon and did 4 hours of that, some of them found out that we have a little thing called Grand Theft World. So if you're a first-time Grand Theft World listener, thanks for tuning in. And for anyone else who needs a little autonomy in your life, we are starting we have the meet and greet in about a week or so. So you have time to navigate through and see what might be right for you, but you have to be a person of action to get in. So you can go to getautonomy.info. There's a whole lot you can learn from there, but it's a starting point of a journey that will continue for a long time. So when you're ready to make serious change, you know where you can go to grow. All right, with all that being said, thank you guys all for tuning in and continuing to listen to the rest of this episode. I will be back next week at my home studio if all goes well. And now I need to find some wood to knock on because I don't like to tempt nature. Mother Nature has a sense of humor. We perceive it as irony. So I'm going to continue to take steps carefully on my drive home and try to avoid any other mishaps because I've had enough unscheduled meetings and Murphy's Law mishaps for this trip. I'm all set and I'm ready to get back and buckle down for season 12 of Autonomy. So thank you guys all for tuning in and not dropping out. Here is LD and Scott to play you out. Peace.
Everyone's doing some kind of self-help these days, and you can find a million self-help courses out there. Most other courses out there are hosting lectures, they're hosting videos, they're maybe even doing Q&As, and these are great starting points to encourage learning. But at Autonomy, we believe that hands-on practice is the best way to really lock in what we're learning. There's no better way to gain confidence and mastery than through action. After each lecture, we practice the concepts we've learned with other students, giving and receiving feedback in a non-judgmental environment. The result is mastery of concepts like entrepreneurship, ethical sales, and self-reliance in an environment that directly translates to the real world. Plus, you make connections with other like-minded individuals who are learning right alongside you, and you have a lifetime membership in the community. The Autonomy course with Richard Grove equips you with confidence, competence, and courage in a world filled with confusion and noise. You can learn more at getautonomy.info. We'll see you there.
What makes the Grand Theft World podcast unique, invigorating, exciting, and informative? Most other podcasts out there are either doing straight up interviews or they're just covering the daily news. They're covering current events from the day they happen. And that is effective. It's useful. It's a great starting point. And then sometimes these current events change during the week past the first story. So we like to give it a little time. You have to wait till some of the dust settles on these stories in order to give them accurate coverage. And the other thing that's really missing in the media landscape is covering the articles that are coming out every day. That's great. That's necessary. But who's bringing in contextual history so that you can understand what has been going on for decades and decades to lead up to the machinations and actions that we see unfolding today? So what we do here on the podcast is we cover current events. Many of these things are censored, but we wait about a week. As a forensic historian, I focused mainly through my career on the history of globalism and collectivism and things that they call maybe the New World Order. There's a lot of facts to these sort of circumstances, groups, events, activities, working groups that they've had over time. So for Grand Theft World listeners, we not only break down the current events, most of which that are censored during the week, we provide you with contextual history, we give you the source notes, the references, we do deep dives, and this really empowers you with an understanding of context and history so that you can make more informed decisions in your life. There's also a community, a membership where you guys can actually ask questions and we can get into the show and we can share evidence. And there's a town hall weekly for Grand Theft World for those who listen to it and are interested in covering the stories that we don't get to during a 6-hour show. Listening to it an hour a day, you could easily consume the week's news, but you're going to have substance and meaning and context and understanding. And with that, you can make higher quality decisions in your life. So if you're interested in more quality in your life, go to grandtheftworld.com, click podcast at the top, and we'll see you there. Thank you.
These allegations are false.
This isn't Grand Theft Auto, folks. This isn't a video game.
What are the most surprising things that you discovered once you started pulling on that thread? Who he was connected to, what institutions he was influential over, what events he participated in?
Come on, man. What are we talking about? Come on, man. No.
You don't have to think about it, dude.
I got this quote because you said you didn't know much about Klaus Schwab. I made it my job to, as soon as this happened, I'm like, okay, this guy's their front man. Let me learn about the official history of the World Economic Forum. I got their 40-year history. I got every book that Klaus Schwab has written or ghostwritten. I went through those books. This is one of the most interesting passages.
Come on, man. Come on.